The hardest thing that I have ever done is live with an invisible illness. My illness has left me with many scars, but none that you can see. Many of us feel as if we must carry our invisible burdens alone, and that they may never get better. But I'm here to tell you, through my story, that this is not true. It all started on my 18th birthday.
I've spent most of my life fighting my mental illnesses. About 2 years ago, I was diagnosed with major depressive disorder and generalized anxiety disorder after about 7 years of suicidal ideation, self-harm, depressive episodes, and other associated symptoms of depression.
As a kid, I often received comments about being too sensitive and emotional. I was led to believe that my emotions were in the way of my success. All I had to do and could do was to perform like a machine. I started to have anxiety, sleep problems, and emotional issues at a very young age. I felt like everything was my fault, and that my emotions, my personalities, and my challenges shouldn't have been there. Nobody knew I was having symptoms of mental health issues, as no such awareness existed.
10 years ago, 7 days of my life were spent attached to respirator, tubes, and machines. I was fighting for my life against pneumonia, spending 3 weeks in the AIDS ward at St. Paul's Hospital. I had to learn to walk again.
I was held against my will in Psych Emerge for 1 month. Every morning they would ask me if I knew my name, the date, and where I was. I wanted the drugs I'd been using, and I was sure the doctors were poisoning my food.
Many of my friends drifted away. My family was beginning to fragment and separate. A member of my family was battling an addiction, and our relationship was toxic. My world was no longer sunny and full of opportunity. It was sad and it was hopeless, and I felt as though I had to face it alone.
When I was released, I went to a 12-step program. It wasn't much time before the full ramifications of my past became clear. If you use crystal meth for too long, things can go wrong for your mind. Drug-induced psychosis meant that for 2 years, I couldn't tell the difference between reality and fantasy. I thought my friends were monsters in disguise. I knew there was something wrong, but I couldn't stop myself from believing it.
I returned to my small town to work to my role as my dad's primary caregiver as he slid slowly into dementia. I lost myself in his care, and my drinking increased as I tried to cope. When he died, our family fractured. More deaths, more drinking. Depression, grief, loss, and loneliness overwhelmed me. I powered through on my own. I can handle this, I told myself. No counseling, no reaching out, no hope.
When I was 20, I went to University of Toronto as an international student. I experienced the pressure of figuring life out in a foreign country for the first time. Everything was overwhelming. All of a sudden, my anxiety peaked, depression hit me, and one day, I just found myself spending most of my time in bed, crying. I couldn't handle it, and I had to drop out of school.
I was medicated and remedicated, diagnosed and re-diagnosed. I would stumble to work and school, hours late, eyes clouded over from the cocktail of antidepressants and antipsychotics, still with no idea what was wrong.
I stopped eating, usually for several days at a time. I lost a lot of weight. I started sleeping 14 hours a day just to escape the pain I felt from being awake. I cried myself to sleep every night. I hated everything about myself, and I truly believed that things would be better for everyone if I just disappeared.
On December 8th, 2015, I received a text from my mother, who is my best friend and confidant. It read, "I love you so much, my little rabbit. I hope you know that." You see, my mother used to read me this story about a little rabbit who was trying to show his mom how much he loved her. Her nickname for me was Little Rabbit. That night, my aunt came to pick me up at Flissa's, the local campus pub. She told me that my mom had hanged herself with a length of chain at her family home. There is a hell in heaven.
October of 2012, I woke up in the hospital after trying to commit suicide. I asked my doctor for a referral to rehab, and I left my reserve, I left my family on my journey to self-discovery and recovery.
I decided to take some time off from school to travel. I worked 3 jobs to save enough money for my adventures. However, my mental health continued to deteriorate, and it quickly became obvious that I wouldn't be able to go on my trip. I felt like I was losing my mind. I reached my breaking point, and I was hospitalized for suicide.
That day haunts me. Along with my mother, I have lost 6 other people to suicide, including coworkers, schoolmates, and very good friends. In addition to this, I have attempted on my own life, more times than I can count, and honestly would care to count. As a boy in Western society, I was told not to show my emotions, to never cry, and to always be brave. That horrid notion sunk me and sinks other men deeper into the depressions and has stopped me from reaching out. I can tell you for a fact that mental illnesses are very real and have long and horrible effects.
I couldn't stop thinking that I needed to die. This thought grew and grew until it was completely overpowering. They did not keep me at the hospital this time. They decided I was too rational. I was looking in the mirror at a face I didn't recognize when I decided to die.
I did not see a reason for living anymore. It was in the hospital that I was finally diagnosed with major depressive disorder, generalized anxiety disorder, and panic disorder. I cannot explain the immense relief that I felt. Someone had finally showed me that what I was going through, while invisible to most, was not my fault. I realized that this nightmare I'd been living in, it was real. And it was in the moments where I valued my life so little that I finally had found a reason to live.
March 2013, I suffered a stroke, leaving a lasting scar deep in my brain. I got better, but worried about my memory. That summer, I saw an advertisement for University 101, an introduction to the humanities at UVic. I applied and I was accepted, but I was drinking again.
I took all of the medication I had been hoarding over the years. I remember laying in a hospital bed with nurses standing over me, hands full of instruments to revive me if I died, listening to the machines beeping alarms that my vitals were taking a nosedive, and looking up at the one that recorded my heart rate. I realized I was about to die. I was terrified.
Anxiety and depression hit me again 2 years ago after I came to UVic. My student experience has been hugely impacted. I couldn't think straight as my mind was like a ball of yarn, with a million negative thoughts twisted together. And I would just break down in the library from subtle sounds such as people flipping their books. I felt like a shell, without blood and flesh. My life seemed so bleak.
I came to UVic on my 19th birthday. I was enrolled in a Bachelor of Science program with hopes of becoming a doctor. I believed that things would get better. I realized very quickly, though, that they would not. Things began to spiral out of control. I started to have violent panic attacks where I would shake and cry and forget who and where I was. Sometimes I see things that aren't there. I began to have terrifying dreams that would follow me into my waking hours. I often couldn't differentiate between the content of my dreams and reality until several hours into my day. I felt foggy and in a permanent haze. It was at this point that I decided to see a doctor. I was prescribed a combination of antidepressants, lithium, stimulants, and antipsychotics.
Fortunately, I had the blessings to encounter mindfulness, energy healing, and counseling. They each play a unique part in my healing process. I am very grateful that I had an open mind about different healing modalities and bravely embraced them. As I got into the habit of meditations, I got more mindful and compassionate about my thoughts, my feelings, and my body. I am on a beautiful spiritual journey on which I unwind patterns that don't serve me anymore and become more aware of who I really am.
I completed University 101 and 102 that winter. I learned about special access to the Humanities Diploma Program and educational grants. I decided to apply and I was accepted for both. However, I had relapsed and was drinking regularly again. I needed to stop if I wanted to succeed. I knew that. I never drank to be social. I drank to escape.
Currently, I'm on medication and going to therapy to combat my mental illnesses, and I can say with a smile on my face that it's working. I can sincerely say that the counselors and doctors at UVic, as well as the UVic Mental Health Awareness Club, have defined the process of countering my depression and anxiety. Being able to talk to people about my depression makes life more tolerable for me.
June 12th, 2014, I had my last drink of alcohol. I found an app that counts the seconds of sobriety because one day at a time is too long for me. Focusing on seconds of sobriety and seconds of wellness, I could string hours, days, weeks of sober living. I threw myself into my recovery programs, and by September, I was ready for school.
Eventually, it was time to come out of the darkness. I wrote an article about my own experience and opinions on mental health issues and posted on social media. I received tremendous feedback and support from my home country and here in Canada. And since then, I have been using my lived experience to help improve students' well-being. I'm now a leader in UVic Global Community and UVic Student Mental Health Initiatives. I am so happy to see that all the sufferings I had are turning into assets to empower the campus community.
I needed the mindfulness tools and strategies I learned to manage the crowded buses, the noisy places, and the crisscrossing bodies as I made my way to class. It was hard not to be overstimulated.
When I survived, I knew that I didn't want to die, and I had to make my life worth living to do so. Doctors at the hospital referred me to a psychiatrist here at UVic. She told me that I had to stay in the moment and take care of myself minute to minute for things to work out long term. It took medication, group and private counseling to help me see the difference between reality and delusion. I still struggle. I have to take a very long time to think things through, to make sure I'm being rational. I have to abstain from all mind and mood-altering substances so I don't lose sight of reality.
Being a mature student, I was challenged seeing the young, quick, and talented around me. I felt like a fraud, to be honest. But I soon realized my lived experience had value in the classroom. I attended 19 writing sessions at the Center for Academic Communication that first semester, and I passed academic reading and writing. I registered with the Resource Center for Students with Disabilities, and I'm so happy I did. My memory improves, but I accept my brain needs a quiet, distraction-free place to write exams and to think properly.
Now I spend every day working to end the stigma around mental illnesses and promote awareness. I'm a part of the UVic Mental Health Awareness Club. I volunteer at a suicide hotline to help talk with people in times of crisis or emotional turmoil, and I participate in events such as this to share my story and spread awareness on the real effects of mental illnesses. It is vital to address this issue that has so long been hidden in the depths of our minds.
I still battle with my mental health every day. I can't get out of bed some days. I still have nightmares and panic attacks, and I sleep far more than I should. But now I have an amazing ability to read emotions and to empathize with others. I am completely substance-free, and most importantly, I am so much stronger than ever before. This is my beautiful silver lining. Through a combination of therapy, medication, staying active, and relying on my friends and my family, I have been successful.
In the early hours of March 18th, 2015, I tried to get overrun by a semi-truck in the hopes that it would end my life. Luckily, an off-duty police officer found me and phoned the police. When I was released 8 hours later, I had a realization, and that was that I needed to help people like myself. Now I'm pursuing a career working with depressed and suicidal youth, and in truth, helping others has helped me exponentially. And seeing you all here today to listen to our stories gives me hope. You're all beautiful people, and I'm thankful that you're here.
For me, mental health means taking time to be mindful of my state and surroundings. I don't worry about a diagnosis anymore, and I find that I no longer need medication as long as I'm taking care of myself. I have learned to be forgiving with myself. It's okay to take a little longer than other people to make big and small decisions. It's okay to ask other people's opinion when you don't trust your own. My professors are very supportive, and I have a strong network of understanding people who work with me. I don't really know what to say to end this story. For me, the story is still ongoing, still with much adversity, but every year a little less. To anyone here who is struggling with psychosis or thoughts of suicide, you're not alone. There are people here who have gone through the same thing and come out the other side. There's support here from counseling services, student health services, as well as the RCST. It's okay to ask for all the help you can. Nobody should have to go through it alone.
What I have learned from my journey is that everything is a gift, even though it might be very difficult to see. I am so grateful for my mental health challenges, as they provide information about whether I'm taking good care of myself and what needs to be changed. I still experience ups and downs with my anxiety and depression, and I continue to work through them. But now I'm doing so with hope, love, and the heart ready to share. My advice? Love everything about yourself as much as you can. And breathe with whatever that is present despite any judgment you may have. You're not alone and everything is fine.
This spring, I'll finish my diploma. I'm involved in HIV research and volunteer work. I climbed out of my cave of denial, of victimhood, and externally placed expectations. I've learned to live, not simply exist. It was hard, challenging, and frightening at times, but I learned to co-create my day, to reparent myself as I age, and to reach out for help when I need it. UVic is a huge part of my recovery, and I am forever grateful. Life is good.
My name is Stephanie. I'm in economics and psychology.
My name is Artemis. I'm a painting major.
My name is Dane, and I'm majoring in biology, minoring in mental health psychology.
My name is Corey. I'm majoring in sociology and applying for the School of Social Work here.
I'm Chad. I'm in the Faculty of Humanities.